find out from their position what are they encouraging the traders to do and how this is going to be impactful in the short term and the long term. We also are aware of the meeting that they had with the Prime Minister Robin Nabanja, and we want to find out what are some of the short-term commitments that were put forth, especially on the call to end the strike sooner than later to avoid damage to the economy, but also to the traders' businesses. You are seeing pictures of traders having to go into their shops, pick their goods and products and be able to go and sell them from somewhere else, yet they have paid rent in their arcades and so on and so forth. But anyway, he'll be giving us an update from the leaders' side point of view, and we'll have a better understanding of that. Now, as we're back in studio, our Kickstarter this morning is focusing on Uganda's aviation and it being at crossroads. The infrastructure advances that we have seen, as well as the governor's turmoil that we've been hearing about and reading about. So today we get to explore aviation sector, and from the expanded infrastructure that we are seeing at Entebbe International Airport, but at also other regional airports, the growing regional connectivity. We have seen the crane extending its services to London, and then there's so many other positives that have been happening in the aviation sector in just the year 2025. However, on the downside, there's also been troubling governance issues that have reached a new high. There's a lot in the air, and that's the truth. My name is Priscilla Regina Nalwoga, and I'll be guiding you through this conversation. Now, when we look at recent news summaries, for example, last month, President Museveni ordering the firing of 152 Uganda Civil Aviation Authority staff over illegal recruitment, inefficiencies and corruption. That's been the latest talking point for people. There's also the ongoing positive news of Entebbe's new passenger terminal that currently stands at 95% in terms of completion, and they're hoping that out of this there will be a rise in the capacity of passengers per annum to the tune of 3.5 million passengers using our Entebbe International Airport. The target also still stands between now and 2033. There's a target of getting 6 million people going through that airport on an annual basis. It's a long term, but of course there are things that have to be implemented between now and then for that to be a reality, and we'll get an update on that. There's also the governance reform, where you get to look at efforts underway to separate regulatory and operational roles within the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority. Of course, the Uganda Airlines has been in the news, also making us proud, flying the crane and having connectivity very improved within the region, but also to the other continents. Reports of reduced losses and new aircraft orders, but also a bit of scandal here involving board level corruption remaining unresolved. But also there's praise that has come in from the international aviation community. Uganda's aviation security improving significantly, especially in compliance with the USAPCMA standards. So all these are going to be put to bed, both the positives and the negatives. Joining us is Mr. Fred Bamwesigye, Director General of the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority. With him, we're going to be discussing the new milestones that we are seeing, the infrastructure milestones, what it means for our aviation sector and also travelers globally, and also discuss the other things underway. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Priscilla, and good morning, viewers.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's start off with Entebbe International Airport and other regional airports. But starting off with Entebbe International Airport, we have seen first lifts, we've seen upgrades, we've seen infrastructure refurbishment. All these are positive, but I know that they are in progressive stages, and we want to find out from you how far we are today.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. In fact, I want to thank NTV for inviting me here at this very moment in time. And usually we don't take it for granted, but we want to use it for proper accountability to Ugandans, what we are doing in the aviation sector. And it is true that we are revamping not just the face of Entebbe International Airport, but the face of aviation in Uganda. That is about infrastructure when you talk about Entebbe. But there are also other systems, compliance systems, and extremely, extremely important. There is a global regulator called International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, commonly abbreviated as ICAO. Every time it is issuing standards and recommended practices. And we are really, really on our toes on these standards. And it follows them with audits, several audits. Some audits are physical, others are desk audits, others are mere instructions. So that is what we have been concentrating on. Remember, there was an audit in 2023. The earlier one was in 2014 for safety, and another one in 2017 for security. And we were performing averagely at that time. But we put a deliberate program to revamp that, because when you are certified as safety compliant and security compliant, because these are the two components that aviation looks at seriously, then everybody has confidence in your aviation system, in airports, in airlines, even in your oversight system, and people start coming because they think they confirm that they are safe, but they are also secure. That's what we concentrated on, and ICAO came into audit at different times, and we were audited and passed those audits more than ever before. The safety one was 72% point something, which we had never achieved in any time in history. The security one was 81.6% again, which we had never achieved in the history of the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority. We were certified for quality management systems, and so on and so forth. So on that, we are really, really doing very, 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 very well. And many of us in the system really concentrate more on those. And of course, as you say, improvement of infrastructure, which you have seen in Entebbe and other areas. The face of Entebbe International Airport, of course, for a person who left this country even 5 years ago, may get lost if they came back, because they will not know what has happened. And we are very, very proud about those achievements. And what are these achievements? We have expanded and improved both arrival and departure areas of the airport. And you have seen that we are also expanding the airport terminal with another 20,000 square meters. The current one is 30,000. Along this terminal, there are bridges, boarding bridges. We've been having 2, we are adding on 3. Yes. Alongside that, we are also having to increase the current 21 check-in counters with another 22.
Oh, that would be so good.
Yes, yes. So, but why are we doing this?
Traffic.
We are doing this because we are also seeing an increase in passengers. And these increase in passengers are coming up because of the confidence they have in our safety, security system. That's how aviation supports business. And these are intricacies that I would like Ugandans to understand and take into consideration, because these move together. So when we see increase in passengers, for instance, half-year passenger for 2025 is already 1.1 million, 1.13 something million.
Okay.
When we look at it,
and that is in comparison to last year's, which was what?
In comparison to last year was also in 1 million, but was 1.06 something.
And that was the full year?
Yes.
Yes. So now you have already hit the target at half a year.
Half a year, yes.
Okay.
So, and the highest month ever in the history of our passengers, arrival and departure, was July. July actually we got 7,400, almost 7,500 passengers in 1 month. That has never happened in the history of the airport. But what are all these? So they are demanding that we actually expand facilities every other day. There is no day, I can assure you, we are going to sit back and say, now we have reached a level where our passengers have enough facilities in terms of expansion, in terms of size, but also in terms of systems inside, system of facilitation of passengers. As time goes on, facilitation also becomes complicated. It's IT-based, digitally based, and we must move with the rest of the world.
Okay.
So there is a lot to concentrate on that side, and that is why you see information displays are being digitized, because no human being will be physical.
Speaking of the digital era, are there other new technologies that you are yet to introduce or are introducing within these processes and implementations that we're seeing now?
Yes, as you have seen in the airport, we were being assisted by the Korean agents, I think KOICA. I think it is the arm of external assistance to countries. They came in and we revolutionized the communication system, linking the airport to air navigation systems to make sure that they are harmonized and they work together. Also with security in terms of CCTV cameras. So at the stroke of a button in my office, I can see the passengers on the floor of the terminal building, but I can also speak to air navigation people to know what is happening in terms of messaging, in terms of planning for the flights in the airspace, and so on and so forth. So, and we have moved from terrestrial systems, that is ground systems, to satellite-based systems. So I can assure you, if we had a lot of time, it can even take us the whole day to explain these matters to Ugandans so that they know how investments in aviation is so crucial and interconnected, so that we are able to move together on these matters. Remember, all that must be done in compliance with standards
and safety and
yes, security, and also recommended practice.
All right, so that's on the side of the authority. Let's talk about the side of the passengers. How are some of these things and improvements and systems that are being put in position going to enable them have a swifter flow through our airport?
Yes. There is nothing in an airport or an aviation system that is not done for the passenger. I can assure the most important person in an aviation system is a passenger, commercial or otherwise. Commercial being that the commercial one also contributes to those systems. Every ticket actually has a portion of revenue that is used, invested back into that system. In so doing, I have been talking about expansion of check-in counters. That means that the airline will take a short time to check in passengers. I've been talking about bridges. Bridges are the best thing to facilitation because they connect to the aircraft without going up and down, those kind of things.
Yes.
There is automation that even passengers can, on their own, check in on their own, but even when they are coming, check in with their passports and shorten the time of lining on the customs. I want also to mention that when you see airports, an airport is a border point. It's like any other border point.
Entry and exit point. Yes.
So Uganda Civil Aviation Authority just provides facilities, but the actors are so many. The actors include immigration, include airlines, include ground handlers, Uganda Revenue Authority. But sometimes when we are talking, it is as if it is only the airport management that is acting there. And many of these have their own accountability, they have their own governance. Positives and negatives. But when we are talking, and really I don't want to even apportion blame to anybody. People who see you are the owner of certain, it is an airport.
You're the overall
just compare it like a road system. There are these Ministry of Works, earlier on it was UNRA. I wonder how many times.
Then there's the contractor, then there's the subcontractor.
Blame the owner of the road on certain things, the border crossing, and then he doesn't even look at the traffic lights or something like that. So, but we take responsibility always. Nobody has ever hidden. Just when these informations are given, then we take it in a collaborative way with security, with immigration, with URI, and make sure that our airport is the best place to be. But at this point in time, there are always levels of inconvenience because we are really revamping systems.
Okay.
We are lucky or unlucky, I don't know, to find systems of 1972. Can you imagine? And it is this time that we are able to revamp them to look modern. And then we can't do away with them completely because we have to work on them and harmonize them with the new infrastructure that we are putting in place.
All
and
right.
often that brings in a bit of inconvenience. And
Mr. Bamwesigye, you did mention that we can talk about that particular element for the whole day long.
Yes,
let's talk about the Aviation Authority. I know that at the beginning of this year you had targets, especially as far as passenger and cargo traffic is concerned. And I want to find out from you, half year down the road, what are we measuring? How are we measuring against the targets that were set at the beginning of the year?
Yes. As I have said, I've indicated, we have really, first of all, you remember the 3-4 years back, we are coming from COVID. And the industry globally had predicted that we will be recovering towards the end of 2025. And we are mistaken. I should say we are mistaken because we are part of the global aviation system. Instead, actually, soon after opening, when we are even still observing guidelines of COVID, SOPs and all that, then passengers became even more than we expected. And now totally outpaced our airport systems, especially. Not air navigation, because air navigation had already prepared itself in terms of revamping systems. We're already using satellite systems. So we saw an influx of passengers, and thanks to God we had been working. You remember the time of the big meeting, NAM. You can imagine if NAM came and we are not prepared to open the arrival and departure passenger time, it would have been a crisis. And we worked very hard to make sure that is there. So the passengers have increased by about, on average, by about 8% already. And we are seeing it, I am sure by the end of this year, we probably will be in about 2.7 million. Okay. And that is a good thing.
That's for the side of the passenger. Yes. And on the side of cargo?
Yes, cargo has, I should give you in passenger, because in July we got cargo was 5,800 metric tons. That is an increase in the arriving cargo of 3.1, but also the cargo that is exported I said 2.1, 3.1, exported on 2.3%. Okay. Yes, again, we are seeing a lot of improvements. But thanks, again, we had finished a state-of-the-art cargo center. That cargo center is not anywhere in this region. If you want to meet, together with its aprons. And this cargo center has been really able to help our increasing cargo. Now, but again, as I said, you can't just be comfortable with that size. We have to get another 100,000 square meter of cargo space.
In order to meet the 2033 target.
And those are investments. That demands investments. And sometimes demands outpace the revenues we have in that airport. Only that in the recent time we have really been rationalizing to put a sizable number of revenues to improving those facilities. That means we have sacrificed other areas to make sure. As you do that, you must also capacitate the people handling it in our ranks, the staff. And that's the reason why we are checking their qualification to be sure that as we move forward with those systems, with those investments, we are able to get proper stability.
All right, before we get into that kind of worms, Hoima International Airport was also expected to be operational as we speak. We want to get an update on that.
Again, you know that one we are providing technical assistance to the government, to the Ministry of Works. And we've been really working very hard to make sure that, yes, the ground civil engineering infrastructures are done. But then that does not make an airport. An airport is about air navigation systems, security systems, meteorological systems, and so on and so forth. Those are the ones we are trying to clear up as of now, together with the ministry, which has been spearheading this investment.
Yeah. So that being said, what are the expected timelines of completion?
Because you remember that airport is also supposed to support the oil sector, but also now, even more urgent is AFCOM. So we are trying to work very hard to make sure that by the end of this year, we have some limited operation as we perfect it. Because it has also to be ready for certification. You know, aviation deals with approvals and certification. We must have an approval process called certification of that airport for, especially now that we want it to be international, and must be accepted as an international airport. So we are working at systems, looking at systems and evaluating them to make sure that they meet all the standards.
All right. Let's also get an update on the regional airports that we do have. What's their status and operation, especially when it comes to operations?
Yes. Regional airports, especially ours in Uganda, if you realize where they are located, they are mainly located in tourism centers. Actually, almost every regional airport is adjacent to like a national park and any other tourism. And our regional airports do not really work commercially. There is no regional airport that can sustain itself commercially as in terms of generating its own revenues. So they are always supported from the center. So therefore, our investment is targeted at supporting an airport per time. There is no way we can have spread out resources in these, and yet we need them because they work as distribution points for tourism. So we have been working on, we have one in Soroti, which is also our training aerodrome. We provided ground lighting, portable ground lighting, very expensive systems, but where we don't actually recover quickly the money. We gravelled the runway completely. In fact, now if we test it is to international standards. We went into fencing, many of them like Moroto and Arua, and we also fenced Chisoro. Chisoro actually we were able even to work on the runway because it had flying stones and was becoming a little bit dangerous for safety of landing aircrafts. And we fixed it. We are now working on Jinja. Not just graveling and tarmacking it, but we are also expanding it in terms of kilometers. In fact, we've been asking government to give us more land where we can extend it. And many others like Pakuba in the Murchison Falls National Park, we are even working on the terminal building of that airfield. For Arua, which has always been our second airport, we are working very, very hard to tarmac the runway, and right now we have had first class Baram. We are also working with other people who assist us to work on Kasese. The projects are being done.
Okay.
You remember we also talked about Chidepo. His Excellency the President was able to convince Middle East investors to come and build a state-of-the-art airport at Chidepo. And preparations are underway. And we want to thank His Excellency the President for that, because this was his main effort to do that.
All right, so let's talk about the Uganda Airlines. I know that it's been in the press for all the good things, and it's half a year down the road. We want to know what's the performance assessment report looking like for Uganda Airlines, especially as far as connectivity and embracing of that is concerned.
I may not talk deeper about Uganda Airlines because you realize this is ours is a regulator.
Yeah.
But because it is a national airline, we support it so much to expand its routes and also to have a foothold on Entebbe, because all these facilities we are working at Entebbe are actually, yes, for many airlines, but we want to create a hubbing effect, a hubbing airport for Uganda Airlines, because this is our airline. And we have helped it to expand routes, first in the region, the East African region and Africa, because we also supported it to go to South Africa and Kinshasa and also Nigeria, if you recall. And now, because they have gathered capacity, they can now go, they are in Mumbai, they are also in Dubai, but also now going to London, to UK. UK was not easy, I can tell you, because there are additional requirements, standards you must meet to go into UK. And there is no way, of course, Uganda Airlines alone can do it without the support of Uganda Civil Aviation Authority. And we've been working very, very hard. And it is also good to hear that the airlines are very, very expensive ventures too.
Yes.
This business really is not for the faint-hearted, I must tell you. And you must always work towards extreme efficiency, because the investments are huge, but the returns come in slowly, and you must really make your systems efficient to be able to realize profits. But this was known at the beginning. Even the government knew that for the first years it may not come up with spectacular profits. And to hear that they are now reducing on the losses is a very, very important thing to know. Yes.
All right. Mr. Fred Bamwesigye is still being with us here in Morning at NTV. When we return from the break, we'll look into the governance and staffing integrity at UCAA, and we'll also look to the future of aviation. What are the commitments moving forward? Please stay with us. You're still watching Morning at NTV. Thank you so much for being with us. As we are still in the 8 o'clock hour, our Kickstarter does continue on looking at Uganda's aviation sector, where it is right now, the progressive looks that we are seeing, the improvements, the advances, but also there's the governance side of things and the regulatory side of things that we must be aware of, that all together complement us as a country, especially being competitive in the aviation sector regionally. Now, we also do have another debate that has been with you people in your social medias, in your clubs, in your groups, and you've been talking about the 152 staff that were dismissed over alleged corruption under Uganda Civil Aviation Authority. We're going to get clarity on that. We do have the Director General of the Aviation Authority with us, Mr. Fred Bamwesigye. Mr. Fred, we were still continuing on looking looking at the Uganda Airlines and wanting to find out from you, in as much as they're performing well, I know that on the other side, some of the things that are coming through that side, especially in leadership and corruption, how are they impacting what you have to do on the aviation side?
As I've just been telling you, many of our expansion activities are actually preparing for also expansion of a home airline, which is Uganda Airlines.
Yeah.
So its governance and its success is directly of interest to any civil aviation system in the country, because among our other objectives is to promote aviation in the country. And there is no any other shorter way direct way to promote aviation than promoting operators like airlines and training schools and all that. So its governance is extremely important. In fact, before many officers are appointed, we must look at their qualifications and how they suit the recommended qualifications to manage an airline, especially the one we call accountable manager, who is the chief executive, and others. So it is important. But we also recognize that they are operating in a very, very, very tight system, where they must first of all do accountability in total, but also become efficient. And sometimes these are systems that, of course, resonate with what is happening in the rest of the country. So that is very, very important. I am not very, very much detailed on how governance and the losses and all that, but we want to see that the airline is making profits for sustainability. Okay. So we always share their strategic plan, because their expansion must also be the expansion of the rest of the industry, especially facilities like airport facilities. I will give you an example. Some time back, government decided that they want to have an airline, when actually for us we are working taking into account the existing airlines. Now all of a sudden we got 6 aircrafts, and we had improved our aprons. Aprons are parking spaces of aircrafts. And we had increased them by 9 slots. Now Uganda Airlines took
the 9 slots.
6. In other words, our net increase was now 3.
You have only 3 that you're working with in case of any other developments.
But that is good.
Yes.
That is good. It puts us under a lot of pressure to continue improving.
All right. Yes. You have mentioned governance and staffing integrity. There are some incidences that have come to the spotlight this particular year. We did have one in June, Mama Nyerere taking a lift that was faulty. It caught the eye of the public. The burnt mosquito nets also caught the eye of the public and raised concern. How are you addressing these issues?
The Mama Nyerere incident, very regrettable, obviously, but it is not the way it is reported. Mama Nyerere incident was a case of a VVIP being, Mama Nyerere, the sentiments around it. Yes. So this person was received by our VIP staff, but also is supposed to be received also by security. And as I said, we are still operating partly in some of the systems and facilities which were put in place in 1972, although we are really revamping them. So this is a small lift that cannot accommodate a certain number of people. You remember Mama Nyerere has her own support aides as were there, but the VIP staff are also there, but also security. And what we see in our CCTV is that during that time, everybody wanted to enter. And of course, that exceeded the number of the people supposed to be in that small rift. Of course, but remember that is an incident of 2024. By now, we have revamped that system,
okay.
by the way.
All right.
So they were giving conflicting commands in the rift. Remember, an old rift, and then to move it up and down, and of course, people who would not understand would think that the rift was actually very, very bad. And there are many connotations around it, with being managed by corrupt systems and all that. But we have tried to explain this matter, very regrettable. And actually, we don't even blame anybody for feeling concerned, because you know what Mamanyere is. And the concerns even by the president.
Definitely.
Yes, which is really legitimate, I should say. But we regret that it was not about negligence of system, but that kind of handling at that very moment in time.
Okay.
But I also note that some people who always want to score will just look at this, leave out the factual information, go and talk about that, which is, of course, sometimes we have to put up with as Ugandans.
Thank you so much for clarifying on that. You have mentioned the president, and as of last month, there was an order dismissing 152 of your staff in regards to alleged corruption, forged academic qualifications. What exactly happened, Mr. Bamwesigye?
Again, I want to mention is that when the president comes up to write, he has received the report. And I really, it is only legitimate that he must act on it. And these are directives. They are not just mere instructions or what. So, for 9 months, close to 9 months, we had been internally looking at our systems. Not just academic. I have just been telling you about how we are revamping facilities. So, but it is in total. So we are auditing our own staff academic requirements to be able, because we want also to do big investments in capacity building of staff, training and all that, for those new systems that we have been talking about. So we started this exercise internally, ourselves. But as you know, you of course took so long to check in schools, universities, because people come from all over the place. And when we finished checking with the universities and schools and tertiary institutions, then we started, of course, giving them a fair hearing. You know, you can't just, even if you get a record from a university, you can't just say, go away, we have seen this. There are terms and conditions of service require that you give them a fair hearing. What happens? In fact, as a matter of fact, when we checked, about 3 people, UNEB and other institutions had actually given us not exact, not correct reports, because they were able to prove their case. Okay. And those were exonerated. That's why we go and scrutinize through a disciplinary process, giving people above all fair hearing. All right. So
what actions
the numbers,
is
the numbers are not
taking?
152, as is widely said. The numbers are 82 people.
Okay, so 82. Those are 82 gaps that have been created. How are we filling those gaps so that we don't feel the pressure on the other side?
Wait. Yeah. 82 people had 124 qualifications at different levels that had been either forged or altered. Mind you, by the way, these guys came at the time of recruitment. Many of them had the certificates of that time.
At the time of recruitment?
Yeah, of recruitment. Okay. Modest certificates. But as pressure went on to improve and be an aviation person of today, they started now being...
As our time is first getting spent, Mr. Bamwesigye, the follow-up question I have is that that's the case, and aviation is an industry that is constantly evolving, meaning that your own staff should be constantly evolving as far as standardization and qualification is concerned.
On the industry
How are you as an aviation enabling or creating that enabling environment so that people don't have to lose jobs, whereas they have the ability to actually upscale?
that is actually what we are looking for in assessing those qualifications, to be safe that the investment we are doing in this stuff is here for them, because once we get staff, we actually start orienting them in industry skills.
Okay.
And we can't just simply look on as we invest heavily on people who may not be having the background, the baseline qualifications. And that's what we are doing. But as we were about to end the exercise, of course, someone reported to higher levels. We do not know who. And of course, made the higher authorities very concerned. And they thought that maybe these people were recruited at once and done in that. But we've been able to explain, and we regret that as well.
And the downside, I would say, is that you're losing experience. People who have been used with the systems and know exactly how the systems are running.
Really regret that.
It's a disadvantage.
Because we took it like we are going to get a few people or none, but preparing, getting our acts together.
Okay.
And I can tell you, going forward, there is always a price of being honest at times. Because this is really, we did it honestly, and we do not know that we will take those proportions.
Okay.
Yes.
As we conclude, UCAA has also been in a tough position combining operation and regulation. This is a system that is outdated globally. How are you, standing and faring in terms of decoupling so that both can stand independent?
I'm glad you are bringing that, Priscilla, because aviation in Uganda has gone through so many stages. And aviation is funded by revenues from aviation itself. So we were not, early alone, we were not big enough to support several entities with the little resources that we are getting, especially before Uganda Airlines came on board, before bigger numbers of passengers came on board. And we thought we should move with a regulator inside. It was allowed at that time, obviously, a regulator inside, but we separate roles. And various audits have found that we are separating roles. But now it has become extremely difficult to keep together and not really be seen to have conflict of interest. And we started again this exercise. I hope no one is going again to hijack it somewhere. We started this exercise so that we get an orderly separation that will make both entities survive. And we want actually to separate the airport from the rest of the CAA, so that we are able to regulate it at a distance, looking at it, not involved ourselves. Because you can see all these issues are coming from the operation of an airport.
And they're eating you as the regulator.
Totally. Yeah. And they are getting us almost
because we see you as the face of the airline.
Mixed up. Although we have, of course, the management of the airport even now, almost a cost center of itself. And but because we are still one, people are focusing on the civil aviation as because decisions are taken in our boardrooms and all that. So, but we are getting an order, and ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization, has sent us experts who are helping in decoupling the two entities. But as I said, we are moving in slowly so that we don't really make mistakes.
All right. Mr. Fred Bamwesigye, thank you so much for making the time to talk to us. In closing, what are your commitments, futuristically speaking, as an aviation authority? Of
course, we have concluded a civil aviation master plan, both for Entebbe and for the country. And we are being guided by this master plan for these expansion activities. I can see aviation industry in Uganda really being pushed by, I have no doubt in my mind that this aviation industry will keep growing, and really the sky is the limit because of our land-linked nature, because of our central position in the world, in the continent, but also in the world. If we had time, I would tell you how long it takes to come from Japan to the other end, Chile. Chile is always Santiago. Chile is always the other end of the world. But do you know that it is almost halfway from Chile to Tokyo, from Melbourne to Norway, again almost halfway. On the African continent, Uganda is halfway from Cape Town to Alexandria. That is a huge advantage for aviation.
Okay.
Because it means that you can improve your systems, you can improve your aviation, and have these landings even without you doing extreme marketing.
Okay, well,
yes.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and wishing you all the best. Looking forward to the first lifts and the improvements that you've talked about in the remaining part of the year. Uganda's aviation, its ambitious expansions are meeting all the turbulences that we've had before and giving us a clean air, and also the transparent leadership and reforms that we have had from you, Mr. Fred Bamwesigye. We're grateful for the commitments that you're having as the spear leader of the aviation sector. So that brings us to the end of this conversation. We do have a birthday baby in the house that we want to celebrate.